Chilly here with Sirius Taurus Moon. It is Jupiter hour, and I'm gonna be wearing my Jupiter Venus with Sirius first lip balm that I made for me, and I got a feeling that I'm gonna need that because we have Mars squaring Saturn. Mars is in Jupiter's sign, but so is Saturn. Saturn is closer to my ascendant, Mars is closer to my midheaven. So I feel like a living embodiment of this transit. And actually, yesterday I put my uh, Jupiter Venus Sirius. I made a little bit of salve here. And the salve is so. Okay, it's not really solving because I would need to refine that into um, softer texture, but it definitely works for the lip balm. Um, it took a lot of time. Oh my god, the scent is amazing. Um, what did I put there? I think I put orange, blue lotus. Yeah, and when I come to think about Jupiter, ruling both Mars and Saturn, Jupiter rules cohesion and truth. It also rules over Venus, which is union, and the truth and cohesion around union and values. And the way I feel Mars and Saturn are operating, Mars rules inflammation, Saturn rules death. And you think about something that is dead true. Jupiter rules benevolence and a sense of optimism. And to be very honest, so does Mars. I'm a night chart. So that means my team planets, so to speak, are Venus and Mars. And one of the things that have always used me in my life was the naivete. And the naivete is like a tower of cards. And this is where the you think about the wound, and it's kind of like when we have a lot of the plagues that are the result of violation of sovereignty and rape. Okay, um, when we have such wound, it's filled with muck. Okay, it's very disgusting. Think about Venus is beautiful, but the wounds of inflammation, they're very disgusting. And basically, the rape is what creates the disgust. Inflammation is violation of sovereignty. And in fact, the dark rituals are about turning that which is innocent into that which is monstrous or disgusting. It turns infants into pedos. And when you think about truth as, particularly with Jupiter in Cancer, as the warmth embrace of love, everything is so loving, appreciative, benevolent. And then the inflammation comes out, the truth comes out, what's dead true comes out, and it looks like this, oh my god, what is this disgusting thing bursting into the party and ravishing all the beauty? And that's like, well, the kings that you worship hunt infants on your dinner table is the blood of raped and tortured children that would be yours. In fact, that's what they're funneling the wealth for. And those that do that were also the raped and tortured children that had to rape other children that survived. And need to keep perpetuating that as long as they choose to live or die with tremendous torture. Think about all the child torturers that by torturing got their Nobel Prizes, their honors, their investment compounding, and appraised for their so-called achievements without addressing the actual truth. And the people that address the truth are being scolded, raped, tortured, targeted because they ruined the party until everybody dies. Because, and this is where, when everybody dies, they're going to consider it corrupt innocence of the cohesive kingdom. No, it's not. Saturn, Mars is the party pooper. And it's the necessary party pooper because without it, if we just swipe under the rug, and this thing is all happening with both my ascendant and midheaven, so I'm feeling the embodiment of, oh, the desire to be happy and benevolent and so on. Then wait a second. And the understanding that, hey, that person, it's not about, oh, that person is a monster. It's not about that person is a monster. It's about, hey, we haven't abolished the perpetuation of such evil that that taints every solid ground. This is why our food is not nourishing. Our judge is so corrupt. Judge Judy very likely was on Epstein list. Warren Buffett, hard to believe that wasn't on Epstein list. What is all his power if children are still raped? It takes what it takes to get to the degree of being able to buy equity in one of his traded companies is raping a shit ton of children, burying them alive. There's no genocide. It's child trafficking and human trafficking. Of course, the society where they wait for the 6 to turn 9, and I'm not talking about any particular religion, it happens way too much of them, and in the secular too. Of course, that society is going to be genocided. And of course, the countries that were funded on that human trafficking will perish as well. We had do you know what bank was the 100% no usury bank for several decades? That was the Bank of Amsterdam. Yes, that's the same bank that when it relaxed the standard, it funded Vogue, Dutch East India. We had a no usury bank. What happened? Child trafficking, the cloning project, which is done by rape and torture, by gang raping infants, that as children have to perpetuate it, that by the age 9 to 12 they have to do rituals, that they're tested and tested to see how much evil they are, to show that they really want that before they turn 15, before Jupiter even matures, which is at 16, before their semen is even semen, they're being castrated and have that semen preserved to only be breeded technologically as clones of the dead. Hey, I'm recording. No. The founders of every kingdom and every nation were both going through, inbred into, and perpetuating such atrocities that no charity can compensate for. And then, when at the image of what seems like prosperity, it seems like innocent corrupted when empires fall. Because we inbreed kingdoms and their leaders by every single before cell that's anything to do with innocence being so horrifically corrupted by rape, by torture, and then having to look normal. What is normal? It's rape and torture. And when nothing sustains and survives out of that, people are very surprised. Oh no, why do you scream when you are raped and tortured? Oh, please shut up. I wasn't talking about the Supreme Court. It's like, oh, everybody is expecting the Supreme Court to be corrupt. Why? What does it mean? Let's talk about the praxis of this expectation. What does it in praxis mean? You expect your royal institutions, your Supreme Court institutions, your foundations of every regime, democratic, non-democratic, autocratic, meritocratic, whatnot, to be such that people are raped, tortured, gang raped, in infanthood, having to perpetuate that, make it into a fun play so that they can be trusted. That's the trust. And that's the expectation. Oh, it's expected to, but when it's your children, oh, let's protect them from the survivors of the corruption that actually talk about that, because if people talk about it, they're going to be decapitated. Oh, what a terrible crime. People expect, oh, we have to be benevolent towards the people lower up the hierarchy. What is that hierarchy? That's slavery. That was raping children, raping single mothers, raping daughters, raping boys out of their even rented properties so that they, God forbid, won't have a house, and then giving them charity, giving them pennies. And believing it's somebody's karma. The karma of a person to be born into gang rape as conception? Because it satisfies the spirit when people loot the underneath of what could be nourished soil and then offer that as energy. That is only active when people are enslaved. And they call that electricity. Mars, Mars. And then when a child like Sedna does not find a suitor, they try to traffic her because they say she thinks she's too good. No, she's not too good. She just doesn't comply with rape. And the dead truth that is the underwater Sedna, where there's now no food, and the power that her father, a trafficking father, thought to achieve by sacrificing his daughter to be tortured, to be kept dead alive, to be tortured so much so that she's not dead yet, so they can still harvest their life energy. That was the story of Sedna. And of course, whether Sedna is a boy or a girl, she's the whore. She's not married, dignified, raping children and taunting them as a fun play, and then giving charity to their families to sell their children. The utmost cohesive state of Jupiter being exalted in Cancer, and even Moon, the ruler, is in the nakshatra of Leo, that is actually about healing. It's the lunar mansion that heals everything. We can't have a healing without understanding that that muck, that inflamed wound that could kill people. Okay? And yes, this particular today we have Mars exactly squaring Saturn. Mars is the inflammation, Saturn is the bone, but also Pisces is the lungs. Jupiter, Cancer is the endocrine system, and Leo is the heart. Now, we have to be both appreciative that we have the benevolence of the water trying to be containing this muck to be discussed and this cohesive truth to come out, because there is no healing without addressing that wound. And that wound won't congeal without stopping those practices. Do you think there is any people in the world that can rest assured that they are able to receive love both erotically and non-erotically, meet their emotional needs, erotic and non-erotic, have a cohesive union of truth? When there is child trafficking and human trafficking, and those trafficked will always be presented as the obsessive, as the third party, as the person that tried to climb the ladder from. And the people will buy that and be genocided, will buy that and suddenly be considered war criminals. It was like, oh, we were just defending our nation that was founded upon human trafficking. But they were just horror climbing, they were just people taken, gang raped in boats until their hemispheres split, and then they had to defend their husband, saying they're traditional. And they would always be juxtaposed to another woman that they have to say, she knew what it was. No, she didn't. But they can't say it. And do you think the men were not again raped as well? Until they had to become a perpetrator and be involved in gang rape of another child before they were 9. And this is wealth consolidation. Some people even call it legacy. When people talk about understanding, and I'm a great advocate to think about what is it that we put our money on or energy on to compound. Currently, that's what it is. It's buried alive children and infants, that you have a living infant, living child, buried alive with a dead child. Some of them are put out so that they can use them to extort other people. They put the little girls to get pregnant, because if a child they have to be in a stage where they can get pregnant as well, because then they can extort more people, east and west. When your mortgage not yielding, when your tenants don't pay the rent, don't blame the tenants. That's your investment on these dead alive children buried under in the soil of the very real estate. Cohesion is truth, and they cannot be cohesion with the fragmented souls and the fragmented hemispheres of the people that are going through ritual abuse, satanic and not. If people can't talk about it, they can talk about, oh, the genocides that are happening in the world. There's no genocides. It's people that didn't talk about the fact. And when a child came up, they say, no, I can't believe my husband is so beautiful, is so caring, is such a good family man. Of course he is, but he has another hemisphere. It's being used by some personality cult or another. Yes? And it's not pleasant, but neither is genocide. Valentine's Day is not going to be the happiest. I think, and you know what? There's something even symbolic about the fact that Saturn and Neptune will meet on Valentine's Day. For those that didn't get it, it's a global collapse of everything. They want to collapse all the currency systems to make a big mind control digital one, and so on and so forth. But here is the thing. Does this world accommodate for love? A love that is not lie, that is not swiping under the rug. A love that is cohesive truth of union. That's not praising the very investments that are funded by the unregistered birth of children, that we put to exactly these type of things. And those children have to put on a show. A woman that was trafficked has to call herself traditional. And when some scandal being exposed, she has to pretend that that girl is a whore. And I'm not going to even talk about the genital mutilation that they have. Blee, blee, blee. To put on a show. And that show is not east or west or north or south or black or white. It's people that truly believe in that show. And they have another hemisphere. Somewhere out there. Hemispheres of the world unite. Oh, it's impossible because those that funded those revolutions, they split the hemispheres by raping people until they split. Most of these infants didn't even get to form a consciousness. So they call them reptilians, void of souls. Yeah. And then people invent a world that seems almost cohesive. A world where there is healing, where there is recovery, where there is love. And then that world is being captured, used as a bait to keep people in trauma bond. And to go out of trauma bond into a cohesive truth of union, into an actual love that's actually loving, care that is actually caring. There's not masquerading the corruption. Think about it. The same guy that raped Medusa later used the talisman of her dead head to save Andromeda from being sacrificed to the sea monster, where he was the sea monster. That's the many faces. Also of the deception of Neptune. And with Saturn is going to conjoin Neptune, that deception is going to be broken in the sign of Mars. Now, because of this dissociation, it is so powerful that the person is trying to escape the torture into the world beyond the rainbow, which is a part of the programming. And that escape is needed to create that cohesion, but eventually, and now with the Mars square Saturn, the breaking of the big bubble. If Saturn dissolves into Neptune, Mars pops that bubble. The muck is not coming to kill us, is coming to curate, but there will not be curation when there are still unregistered birth, children born into being tortured. New money have to be in compliance with the old money and consolidate the wealth by participation. What is participation? Equity, shared power. Oh, it's those things. How do we bridge the gap between the wealthy and the common people? Abolish ritual abuse. How is that done when everybody's mind controlled? I don't know, but if it's not done, there's gonna be nobody. Nobody. It's a hacky. Every child can hack into a program. And think about mind control. And the disaster, the impending gloom, is actually the benevolent truth. Look at Lilith, that is on the minute, just 1 minute away from the big opposition with Uranus, which has been standing on that degree for a couple of days. There's no intelligence, there's no national defense, which means there is no defense, not just of the nation, also of the oil, the kingdom, the royalty, the lobbyers, the global milieu. Without sexual sovereignty, there's no defense. I tend into political assassination prevention. What I found, husbands are on the low looking for the most compliant wife to share their world with. And when they don't find her, because each so-called third party is 7 times more feminist than the other, because she was never a third party and she never seduced anyone, and she never even knew that somebody. Because at the core of the truth, to be aligned with the everythingness, everybody is interrelated in the big interweb of, well, if there's even one child that's tortured in the world, the more we attune with our sexuality, the less we are able to. Because that's the thing about life creation. It's the story of the princess and the peas. Except that you replace the peas are the corruption in the world, and instead of the princess and the bed with a ton of mattresses is the ability to have an orgasm that is actually orgasmic. You need to meet your not erotic needs. You need to meet your childhood needs. You need to be actually aligned. You need to be sovereign. Sovereign, it means you need to be aligned in your own energy. You need to be in your own energy. Split hemispheres and authentic orgasm don't go together. It's going to be degrees of misplaced arousal. And then everybody's going to be pissed. Oh, you know what rape is? Like, folks, usually you're talking to people that have been raped in different times, in different ways, and it's kind of like, and it's going to be women doing that. I did astrology of parents and their children, very few charts like this, and immediately I saw. And I remember one case was not astrology, and the woman that began to be louder, she was my neighbor. So when before, right in the minute, right when I moved, because you actually need to be able to be orgasmic in order to manifest even the basic things, but it has to be orgasmic. It cannot be human trafficking. It cannot be programmed. It cannot be none of that. And then, of course, I couldn't anymore because the place was trafficking. But the neighbor, when she would hear me, then she began to allow herself. And then the daughter she had was exactly like her. Exactly. And she told me, Shirley, I thought that having a girl like me, exactly like me, is going to be easy. But it's the most difficult thing I've had in my life. Of course, because one needs to be self-loving. Your children are not the pride and legacy. Before they are the pride and legacy, they are exactly your mini-me that rebels you. One needs to be having radical acceptance, unconditional love of one's own self to be able to unconditionally love a child. And you know, the more we are at the prime of our life, the more unconditional love is required to orgasm. Because it's kind of like, well, if they're going to be a child, we gotta actually need to be able to love and provide for them. Which means, is this economy? Well, this world has to change. Why can't orgasm in this world? But no, that's misplaced arousal. It's not the water is piss. You want to eat food with no nutrient? You're going to eat the biggest of apples, the biggest of bananas, the biggest of grapes that are used for rape ritual for God-forsaken reason. None of them is nourishing. Oh, you have no, you don't have gluttony. You have impoverished soil because of all the rape that went there by the clergy. I don't know. And the people that dare to mention that, oh no, this is we don't talk about these things. A dignified person does not have sex. They only rape children. Yes. And that's considered initiation, indigenously and not indigenously. People are like, well, you can't change the world. You have to pick your battles. And then their children are not being picked for the kindertransporten. Or they have to grow up as offenders. We have a generation of people, of youth, that jumps off the rooftops into their death. Oh, they're being bullied at school. They're not being bullied at school. I mean, yes, they're being bullied at school, but that's not why they jump. And everybody knows that. A child wakes up in bed screaming, oh, they're neurodivergent, let's pop them some pills. Maybe they're being astrally raped. Oh, the 2, 3 years old child won't help grandma. Why would he help grandma? He's 3 years old. He's not. He's an infant. He's just, yeah. When he'll grow, he will help grandma, but he's a child. People, oh, that's the karma of the, that's not their karma. It's the karma of the entire place that when it's colonized, oh, well, we had the 100% reserves, no usury. Yeah, but the children, that's how they extorted money for the Vogue, Vogue culture. Everybody loves to be charitable towards, oh, this person, oh, they were raped, oh, they're so poor, oh, they're dead, until it's their partners that mess around with that person. Well, that person doesn't even have their sovereign self where they can say yes, no, and maybe. To gain the trust of a person that was abused, impossible. Abolish abuse until that person, because the more people are abused and tortured, the more sensitive they are to frequency, and they become both numb and sensitive. That's the duality of Neptune. And then it's only when the abuse is abolished that they're able to return to their own self as a cohesive, truthful person. But everybody lies about politicians being Pinocchios, all of them. How do you think they raised them? I just mentioned that. Pathological lying is a part of trauma response because they couldn't talk about the rape. They couldn't even remember the rape because if they were tortured and raped again. That's your religions, all of them. Oh, but not all people. Yes, people have to say that so they can still talk about the truth. But they have to say that not all people. It's all of them. Now the moon is trine in sun. Sun is in Sagittarius. And the moon, you'd be surprised, Jupiter is exalted. The moon is in the middle phase of Leo, where is the lunar mention of healing. It's where we use amber to heal all wounds. Oh heck, we're gonna need it. which is a good time to mention a business that I want to purchase myrrh from. And this is a Kenya business of women from Samburu women of Kenya. And this is sustainable frankincense. And also, I do want to honor and appreciate the positive energies around me. Okay? And it's very likely that I don't even know who or what, because of the tremendous things that I've been tending to, that also were followed by tremendous horrors that I've undergone. And I understand that those were re traumatizing of some sorts, whether lineage or and and because it's difficult to tell whether something is being benevolent or something is being using benevolence as a cult to try to, how should I say that, uh, to try to bait people into trauma bond. Okay. Then, from my vantage point, trust is something that seems like okay. But it's not that I don't appreciate the people that are truly benevolent. It's just that from this vantage point and the things that I'm tending to, it's very difficult to be able to discern such thing. There are many things involving that, and the fact that even the monsters of Monster is dissociated because of the torture, and when they're exposed to love, of course, they want also to be able to be with love, and the people that seem the most benevolent are susceptible because of this type of trauma to mind control, and that is very challenging. So this is sustainable frankincense from Samburu women of Kenya. And there is frankincense, myrrh, copal, the sheep worldwide, dragon blood, and elemi. All of them are raisins. The unique thing about it, and with Jupiter, is fantastic because Jupiter rules trees, Saturn rules agriculture, Mars rules the bruise or the wounding. But what they do is that they don't wound the trees to get the sap, to get the raising that we use, whether it's for the skin, in holistic healing. Frankincense is connected with the father and father wounds, and also Jupiter. It's a big Jupiter essential oil. Myrrh is the mother wounds, very good for the teeth and gums. Probably gonna need to buy, okay, the oil well sourced. And I found that business when I was looking for a way to comprise myrrh without bruising. Okay, it's also true to the maple. Because I figured if this is something to heal the wounds, that I don't want to create the wound, to heal the wound, and using frankincense and myrrh from businesses like this that don't harm the trees is on a holistic level. When we look at holistic healing, is better sourced, and they ship worldwide. Women-owned business in northern Kenya, and there are also harvesters from the Rendille tribe. They're selling to North American, European markets, so worldwide. Now again, I don't know if the people that are connected with them had to have children being sacrificed or raped alive and so on. So this is not, you know, ignoring the fact that global trade is global trade. But it is something that I found out that is a point of interference that looks like the world needs right now. Going back to the Jupiter, Venus, and Sirius, which was also with Cronus and Hades, with Saturn being in Jupiter's sign, um, okay, we have the the way Jupiter is situated is juxtaposed to whether it was Kronos and Hades with the Jupiter Venus, or right now Jupiter is exalted and the moon is in a very good lunar mansion, and yet it rules both malefics that square each other. Okay, but I think it's not for nothing, because we need a benevolent of benevolent to address these wounds, because we need to be able to contain these wounds, and to address them. Okay. Humiliation rites are harming fertility. And fertility is not just for children, it's the wish to live. It's a life that has a meaning in the eye of the person that lives those lives. Rape negates that. And there probably wouldn't be people walking on the face of this earth talking about that if that was not true. A lot of us really wondered. Both Mars and Saturn, they're not putting boundaries to Jupiter's expansion, but they address the corruption that needs to dissolve so that Jupiter can expand benevolently, with care, which is where it's exalted in Cancer. The dead truth is that the unreciprocated love is basically the care to not rape, because that is what prevented people from being receptive to love and care to begin with. And people are going to wonder about the chicken and the egg. At the end of the day, either we have zero rape world or we don't have a world. It's very evident. The fruits and the veggies, the most organic of them, are no longer nourishing. People cannot even grow food because they cannot even sustain a land. Not because they are not self-sufficient. The karma that is to break is to abolish the caste system, the slavery, the burning of widows with their husbands, the living widows with their husbands, the burning of living children with the dead, buried alive, the rape, the mass rape of infants, and forcing them to rape the next innocent as a ritual. Nothing later, don't talk about East India, Dutch or not Dutch, because that's what funded it. It's energy. Don't talk about colonialism and don't talk about genocide. Talk about those things because they're in every culture in the world. They've made the world unite around agreeing to hunt children and call it peace, world peace. And the currency that's going to be marketed on that, it's no wonder that generations of the Pluto in Capricorn, which is the sign of debt, banking, usury, karma, are jumping off the roof at 14, at 15, at 16 to their death. It's not because they were bullied in class. That they were bullied in class is the inflammation to the typhus that's killing the bones and the endocrine systems of the people that were enslaved, fighting for sovereignty to the bone until they die. Or stay alive and raise families after going through this. Not an easy recovery. I'm third generation to that. We can address it, oh, the world is like it's a natural disaster. And then we have natural disasters that are man-made. And they're flooding every city. For water sustainability, of course. Water sustainability is zero rape. They were worshipping the Amrita for a reason, because the Amrita means an orgasm that is actually orgasm.